Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Justin Wells. It's Wednesday. We're breaking in on here with some breaking news. Texas just landed a huge commitment. Sometimes these come out of the blue, Justin. That's when it's a lot of fun. We try to track all the timelines. We have most of them tracked, but sometimes kids pick up the phone. They shoot Hayes Fawcett a message, and they commit to Texas, and that's what Jermaine Bishop, the Willis athlete, just did.
Yeah, look, Jermaine Bishop in Texas have kind of been trending since I want to say junior day. They absolutely blew this kid away. Now they've had this relationship for well over a year, but there was a little kink in the road when Terry Joseph took off and headed to the New Orleans Saints, and so they didn't know exactly what was going to happen. Chris Jackson stepped up and goes, hey, that kid can play wide receiver too. I'll recruit him as well. That right there is why Texas got him. Now, I think they envision him at cornerback. I think this is a Mark Orfe take, but this is an athlete take no matter what, because this kid can play on both sides of the ball. And I think that's something they'll figure out more when they get him on campus. But, hey, this was a team recruitment. Through and through, the offensive guys recruiting him and the defensive guys. And I want to say that's what separated Texas from the pack, because a lot of people had said, well, you can do one or the other. And Texas is like, let's just figure it out. Let's do both. Let's see what you can excel at. Give Mark Orfe credit. He grabs Hayward Howard Jr. last week. He snags another corner and Jermaine Bishop this week. Hey, this guy, I put dynamic on every recruiting report we do about this kid because he is fantastic. DJ Lagway was his quarterback 2 years ago, and they put on a high school show every Friday night. Well, as soon as Lagway left, people thought, well, Bishop's numbers might drop. False. He only stepped up his game. He calls himself Batman. He actually wears a Batman mask during 7-on-7. He is a fun kid. He is a great personality. He's got incredible athletic genes related to the former Kansas State quarterback, Michael Bishop. A lot of Texas fans will remember him for that 1998 season. This is a great get, man. This is a jump start to the middle of kind of a little bit of a boring May.
Yeah, this is always fun. Man, I think we talk about dynamic, and that gets thrown out so often. But you can just see these stats, what he's doing all over the field. They're on offense. You go check his stats over on Max Preps. 1,400 yard receiver each of the past couple of seasons. Touchdowns. And we're adding Eric Naleen in here. We got the film on the screen. We had just mentioned that Bishop was someone that Lagway threw to for a little while. And obviously DJ Lagway has his own tremendous skill set. But it always helps, and one of the reasons Lagway may have burst onto the scene some, Eric, is he had someone like this to throw to and be on his team.
Yeah, when I went and saw Lagway, I think it was his junior year over at Willis, I got pointed to. Even Lagway's dad was pointing at Jermaine. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, he's obviously a hell of an athlete. He was really small at the time. He was probably 5'7", 135 pounds. But I had to remind myself what I tell everybody else, these kids grow up. And he's grown up in a major way. Just an exciting athlete. Throw out the rankings, including On3's or especially On3's rankings on this one. I talked to the On3 guys and I said, I sent them a message. I said, I don't know how much you guys account for, how universities feel about these guys or college coaches. I said, but Texas views this guy as a 6-star. They don't view him as a 5-star, a 4-star, none of that. They love him. They think he's an elite athlete. And to me, he's the perfect tailor-made field corner. The guy that comes to mind for me is Curtis Brown, because he's an electric, springy, flexible, bendy athlete. Justin likes that because of Curtis was from East Texas, of course. Just an elite athlete. And as Ryan Nelson is saying here in the comments, yeah, you probably want him as a punt return. He'll get a look at that. There's a lot of guys at Texas that can fill that role. But I had to jump on. I had to stop what I was doing and run over here because I'm so excited about this one. The guy is a total baller. And I want to emphasize they view this as an elite get. They don't view this as just some, all right, he's a modest 4-star or whatever. He's a project. They think he's an elite corner prospect. And I have to agree, having seen this kid grow up the last couple of years.
Hey, Joe, real quick quote from a source within the Texas football program. He's a savage, football junkie, but even more awesome human being. That's culture. That's what you want in this locker room. And like we said earlier, when Terry Joseph took the Saints job, there was just a slight hiccup, and Chris Jackson shot in there and really kept this recruitment going. Then him and Mark Orfe tag team this thing. They did the in-home together. This right here is a get. You want this level of talent, and that's what's coming to Austin.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if Terry Joseph didn't help out a little bit. We know that Joseph helped out with Jalen Lott somewhat, just to keep things moving. You know, and Terry Joseph's probably thinking to himself, "Man, I want these guys going to Texas so I can draft them in a few years too, because these are NFL players that Texas is adding, and in Lott's case, that Texas is trying to add." Man, this is just a really, really exciting get. This again, treat it like a 5-star.
After his junior day. This was one of the kids that left that junior day just in awe. Like everything had clicked. And I reminded him, I was like, this is genetic. There's some athletic genes here. He's related to Michael Bishop, the former Kansas State quarterback, NFL quarterback. There's some serious genes there. There's athleticism. This is such a great get. Orfe nails Hayward Howard Jr. last week. He grabs Jermaine Bishop today. This is cooking with gas, guys.
Yeah, that's a duo. You got Boundary and you got Fields sewed up in less than a week, and you still have Samari Matthews out there. They're still after Jalen Lott, who could play both sides, maybe even wide receiver. Another number of kids out in California, just everywhere. This is a hell of a start. Normally, Jermaine Bishop, you're having to fight for this guy in July, or maybe if he wants to wait. These are the ones that are headliners that you're worried about in December. Here we are in the middle of May. OVs haven't even really happened yet, and he's already in the class. So that's just a massive win. The timing's a massive win. The less resources you have to put towards these elite guys, the more you can focus on the next group of look at him hurdling that guy. The less resources you have to put on other guys, and it's hard to get these guys nowadays with NIL. You got A&M is motivated to get all the top kids. Look how fast look at him streaking down that line, man. Jeez, he just gobbles up ground.
We'll keep
he was
going.
On campus less than 3 weeks ago, guys. And I had a friend that actually works on campus that said, I just met Jermaine Bishop and his parents. They're on cloud 9 right now. That kid's going to Texas. I said, I love that optimism. I'll stash that in my notes. I appreciate it. She was right.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor. That is Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Joe,
go ahead.
Yeah, he goes mute every once in a while.
Computer's acting up a little bit. I was looking through just kind of a lot of different stuff that On3, mostly Inside Texas, has written about Bishop, just trying to see who else was involved when Hayes posted it. Said Florida, A&M, USC. But Justin or Eric, kind of like we've been talking about, this kind of seems like one of the Eric kids who classically profiled to Texas, even though he's got K-State bloodlines, even though, he's from Willis, which isn't East Texas, isn't Central Texas, Brazos Valley, I guess if you had to throw it into a region, it's almost Greater Houston. But a kid who profiled to Texas, and it seems like it was just we had tracked that it was Texas news. Hard to find anything else, and finally just realized, okay, he popped for Texas. There was really no close second, it felt like, for this commitment.
The only surprise to me was that it happened right now. A lot of guys, once they get this far into the cycle, they might as well go do the OVs. I want to go home and talk it over. But Texas had been the favorite for a very long time. I'm telling you, in January, when before the turnover with the defensive back coaches, they figured Bishop and Lott were both locks for the class at that time. And then there was, we have to get used to this new dynamic in the coaching staff. But the carryover has obviously been there. It's obviously there for Bishop. I think a decent amount of it has been there with Lott as well. But yeah, they had him in the class. If they were going to do a mock class in December or January, he would be one of the early guys that they would have figured in, or one of the guys most likely to join the class. And today's kind of proof of that.
Texas A&M is probably who finished second in this recruitment. About a year ago, you could make an argument that it was going to be either Texas or Texas A&M. There was a sense that he was going to stay in state. He enjoyed the recruiting process. He wanted to take some visits and go see other things, and he was growing that offer list. But this was going to come down to Texas or Texas A&M. And Eric, I think you're right. Around December, January, it felt like Texas just separated from the pack. I'm telling you, that junior day in late January may have clinched this thing. That he walked out as starry-eyed as any kid we saw that day. And so I think this was one of those Texas versus the field in a sense, but A&M is the one that finished a very, very distant second.
I was trying to find I don't think he's running track this spring, not on athletic, not on mile split. Doesn't really matter. I mean,
that's a sin. That's a sin. This kid should be running track.
He looks like
Edwards should be running track. Jermaine Bishop should be running track.
He looks like Speedy Noyle at receiver. I mean, nobody's catching him. He's making moves in space. He's streaking down the sideline. What an athlete. Florida thought they had a chance because of Lagway.
But Joe Hamilton was very key on that one. When he was the recruiting assistant at A&M, he had helped build that relationship with Bishop.
Yeah, that proximity advantage from Willis to Austin, that's real. Had Texas not landed Arch Manning and gone after Lagway, that the whole college football dynamic would be entirely different. I think those Willis kids really like Texas. I know Lagway did before it didn't work out for him. So, I never really saw him going that far from home. Who get to play him though? Probably.
Justin, you kind of touched on this, but we just had Hayward Howard not too long ago. I think even a few days ago. Now you've got Jermaine Bishop, athlete designation, probably going to play corner at Texas. May get the opportunity to do multiple things. And somebody asked a question about punt return, and it's hard not to see him maybe with the ball in his hands. Yes. But looking at cornerback, we know that they have another athlete they're interested in. We know, like Eric mentioned, Samari Matthews. It doesn't seem like they're going to have to look too far outside their current scope to try to fill out the rest of this corner class.
No. And Eric said that a little bit earlier. There's two more spots here with Jalen Lott and Samari Matthews. And with Lott, there's some ambiguity because of receiver, but they're going to take him as an athlete regardless. And I think that's one of the things that helps sell with Bishop. Samari Matthews is another one on there, but they're going to keep, I think, one spot for someone nationwide. They love Davin Benjamin out in California. They love CJ Hester down in Florida. There's a handful of other guys, but I think Samari Matthews is going to grab one of these other spots, and I think Jalen Lott is going to also grab one. That's 4, but again, like I said, Lott's got some flexibility. I think they're going to save this one last corner spot for maybe the best one they can grab. To maybe a late senior eval or a higher kid that they go after when the schools that are after him maybe starting to falter of some sort. But I think Eric said it best. Bishop and Howard, they're your boundary and field. Jalen Lott and Samari Matthews make a lot of sense, but I still think the number's 4, and I still think they're going to wait and save one scholarship for maybe somebody else that pops up later in the cycle.
I was a little bit bummed about Lott preferring wide receiver just because I see, 10-year NFL pro stud cornerback. That's not to say he can't be a really good wide receiver, even a pro wide receiver. But I was just so excited about him at corner. This really softens the blow because they don't need Lott at cornerback with Jermaine Bishop. Or, one of them is going to play, maybe one plays offense, but virtually one of them is guaranteed to play defense now. And, honestly, I don't really care which one it is as long as they get both. And, let the rest of it work out on campus. But one of those guys is going to be an elite college corner, and it's going to be whichever one plays it.
Yeah.
Should be a lot of fun to track. And then around the rest of the defensive back, they're in on Chase Calicut, in on Yaheem Riley. We're probably going to see more storylines materialize at safety. But this is as great a start as you could probably expect for Dwayne Akina and Mark Orfe in this class, especially – Manny Muhammad, NFL likely around this time next year. Jalen Gilbo, he's entering his senior year. You think Kobe Black's going to, probably rise to cornerback 3 and then maybe take over a starting spot next fall. But there's opportunity at these corner spots. It feels like a lot of these players are noticing. And, it's always nice to see Texas. I think they jumped from number 19 to number 15 in the rankings. And so that steady climb that we see every spring is just now starting because of the way Steve Sarkisian and company do their recruiting. Anything else on this guy?
Yeah, imagine how much they'd jump if he was properly rated. Yeah,
He's down the line. Down
He's
the
not
line.
wrong at all, listeners. He is.
Hey, there's
he
going to
nailed
be
it.
there's probably going to be a DB out there that we're not even talking about that, we're talking about in the fall. So that's why, keep your powder dry. Nobody was talking about Grayson Littleton this time last year, and he was one of the best freshman performers through all of spring ball. They're going to keep looking. I think that probably it'll be more of a surprise at safety than at corner, most likely. But, with Akina coaching, they're all corners until they're a safety.
There it is.
Yeah, I think that kind of answers the question. I don't think Dwayne Akina is adding anybody to his secondary who can't do a little bit of everything. So,
well, I don't know what he means by prototypical, but I just compared him to Curtis Brown, and who recruited Curtis Brown at Texas. This is a true corner. This isn't a guy that Akina would ever think about moving to safety. That's not even on the table for a guy like that. Some of the cornerbacks that he did take, you would have that in mind, or maybe a nickel. That's the beauty of Jermaine Bishop. He's a true 100% corner if he plays defense.
And that's the beauty of Dwayne Akina. He will sit down and tell you, son, you can be a really good wide receiver in college, or you can be a really good corner in the NFL. What do you want to do? I remember Curtis Brown's answer well.
Yeah.
Should be a lot of fun to track. Awesome news. Sometimes they get us by surprise, but it's a lot of fun to talk about them, especially when they're this big like Bishop is. So thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a ton more insight over on Inside Texas as the corner class continues to come together. So Justin, thank you so much. Eric, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.